that today is March 4th, 2021, and Christine Salante and Dorothy Richards are talking with Lesley Hahn, a member who joined in January of 1968. And Lesley has agreed to be interviewed for our Many Voices of West Shore project. Welcome, Lesley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and for asking me.
Why did you join West Shore?
I was a member of the Lutheran Church because my family had been Lutherans. So naturally, I kind of went where they went. And, but it was so full of guilt. I mean, there was, unlike the Catholics, we couldn't go to confession and absolve ourselves of our sins. We just had to continue to live with it. And the guilt finally got to me, and I visited West Shore because my good friend Ann Beach, the daughter of Sandy in Virginia Beach, I admired so much from high school, and she was a member of West Shore. So I started visiting. I just felt a wonderful sense of freedom because I no longer had the guilt. So that's how I first came to the church.
And did you join right away?
No, I don't think so. And in the meantime, I came across a group called Mother's Morning Out. And maybe some members here still remember that group. And we could bring our young children to that group. We women could go off by ourselves and just learn about wonderful things. Now, this was during an era when really women weren't expected to know much of anything. But we were introduced to wonderful new forms of artwork, science, politics, and things that really were very challenging intellectually at that time. Just expanded the arts in so many ways. It maybe made us feel that we could do many of the things that we saw our husbands doing. There were wonderful, talented people. I'm thinking in particular of Janet Elkhorn and Jan Berlin and their remarkable voices that were so lovely. And now I can't remember the organ playing. I miss that so much. So I still listen to David Blazer when I get the chance. But before David Blazer, there was another who just enriched us through music in so many ways. And of course, we had gay people entering the church at that time. As far as I knew, we were the first place that encouraged, welcomed gay men and women to join with us.
Where did you grow up, Lesley?
I grew up right here in Cleveland, first over in the Camps Corners area, and then in Lakewood, and then in Bay Village. And I graduated from Bay Village High School, went away to college, but came back and lived at home with my mother in Bay Village. And we were a very close-knit community then, too. I mean, my high school friends and I stayed close for a long, long time. I just have one, well, Ann Beach, who's now Ann Preston, and I talk by phone, as do Barbara Dahl and I, Edna Lou Harrison. And she and I talk every once in a while. And so in that sense, I'm still close to those people. But there are people like Dorothy Fitzgibbons, for example. What a character she was. and Betty Sprague, and all those wonderful people who were able to accomplish so much. And I admired them all. I aspired to be like them. Because this was during a time when women were not expected to be anything more than wives and mothers, period. But, we looked around and said, is this all there is? And we were kind of challenged and went off and did all kinds of wonderful things. Barbara Dahl became a nurse. Joanna Fitzgerald went into baking. I finally made the big change of starting law school, which certainly put me on a trajectory to become a lawyer, to get divorced, to change the whole course of my life. And I think I influenced the way I brought up my children at that time, too. And of course, the children, they all seemed to have a wonderful time. My girls had their friends in Mother's Morning Out and the Fitzgerald kids and neighbors, and I don't know. It was a very heartwarming time.
Were there other groups or activities that you remember being involved in?
Well, I remember being involved I was always in a book club. And of course, Don Mayer was in charge of the book club. He always asked such penetrating questions. And we just read so many books that were kind of opened up our horizons to many, many things. And the music was always so good. And not just the church music, but the Rocky River Chamber orchestra or group. I miss them so much. So there was always something going on, if not service auction, the Saturday night suppers. My husband died and Mary Lou Pollock's husband died. We would put on dinners together for Saturday night suppers. And that was always a wonderful time.
What about Christmas or the holidays? What do you remember about that at West Shore?
Well, the main thing I remember, and this is going to make me cry when I talk about it, is Barbara Donachie used to give a party, a cocktail party, after the Christmas Eve service. So it would either start at 11 o'clock or midnight. And she gave a party and she invited me because I was friends with her and with her daughter. And she also invited her neighbor, Bob Hahn. So Bob and I met there. And right away we started talking about books. And we had read many of the same books and were excited by the same books. And so we just talked and started dating then. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Would you like to share with us anything else about West Shore?
I think the one thing I would like to point out is that I was a member during what I think of as the golden years, when there were people that had outrageous talent, like Mark Holloway, for example. They were capable of doing so much, and they did. And they gave of their time and their energy and their talent to the church. And I think it made it a truly outstanding place. And I'm just so grateful that I could be a member. So now, and I'm sort of beyond my golden years, I at least have that to look back on. And I do. with a great deal of joy and gratitude.